Now let's talk about two frenemies trying to patch up. China and Australia, at odds for many years now, and figuring out a way to live with each other. It's a complicated relationship. China tried to interfere in Australian elections. Apparently, they also tried to install a spy in the Australian parliament. There were charges of large-scale espionage. Then came the Wuhan virus. Australia was the first to demand answers. It wanted an international probe into the origins of the virus. Beijing was mighty upset. It struck back where it hurt Australia the most, a trade war. It looked like the relationship had collapsed. But last year, Australia got a new prime minister. His mission was to mend what was broken, and he is at it. His name is Anthony Albanese. He's in China as we speak, that too on a state visit. It doesn't get bigger than this. Today, he met Xi Jinping. They agreed to bury the hatchet. Listen in.
I believe that we can all benefit from the greater understanding that comes from high-level dialogue and people-to-people links, and that a strong relationship between our two countries will be beneficial into the future. Where differences arise, it's important that we have communication. From communication comes understanding.
Albanese is trying to turn over a page. He's the first Australian Prime Minister to visit China in 7 years, and he couldn't have chosen a better time. It's their 50th anniversary. China and Australia, they established ties 50 years ago. The brain behind that was Gough Whitlam, the then Prime Minister of Australia. He normalized the relationship. He paid a visit to China, the first Australian leader to do so. Now, Albanese is attempting a repeat. His visit coincides with the anniversary of Whitlam's visit, and it did not escape the notice of Xi Jinping. He made a mention of it, and he hailed the rapprochement.
And now we are embracing a new 50 years in China-Australia relations. Your visit this time is highly significant as it builds on the past and ushers in the future. Now, the China-Australia relationship has embarked on the right path of improvement and development. I am heartened to see that.
China and Australia are on the right path. That's the message from Xi Jinping. He has good reasons to be pleased. Before Albanese landed in China, they made good progress. Australia had ended some anti-dumping tariffs on China. Beijing had promised to go easy on Australian wines. China also released Cheng Lei, an Australian journalist who had spent the last 3 years in Chinese detention. These measures paved the way for a truce, and it's a truce that both sides need. When China slapped sanctions on Australia, its key exports were hit. Barley, beef, wine, coal, timber and lobster. All of it was hit. Australia suffered serious losses, around $20 billion. Canberra wants to resume this trade. And what's in it for Beijing? Well, China is after Australia's natural resources, stuff like coal and LNG, liquefied natural gas, LNG. China is an energy-hungry nation. It needs coal to power its factories, also to make steel. In 2021 and 2022, Australia's coal sales to China stopped completely. Now, this supply is being resumed. Every month, on average, China buys $1 billion worth of Australian coal. It also buys Australian oil. In the first 6 months of 2023, China spent $860 million on this supply, which is why this truce is important. Australia gets back an important export market, and China gets another source of energy. It looks like a win-win, but it comes at a cost. China is also expanding its footprint in Australia's backyard. I'm talking about the Solomon Islands. It used to fall in Australia's sphere of influence. But now China is making rapid inroads. Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare of the Solomon Islands is being seen as a rebel. This week, leaders from the Pacific Islands are meeting, but Sogavare has decided to skip this meeting. He's sending his foreign minister instead. Sogavare is leaning towards China, and visibly so. His country will soon host the Pacific Games. 5,000 athletes from the region will take part, and guess who Sogavare has called in for security? The Chinese. Last week, there was an announcement. Sogavare said China will send its police forces. A liaison team from Beijing will arrive soon. It will help the local police to maintain law and order. China is also donating policing equipment like metal detectors and drones for this event. Australia has not been sidelined completely, though. It is providing security for the Games too. But this invitation to the Chinese police will unsettle Canberra. We'll have to see how Albanese deals with this. He may have been successful in resetting ties with China, but China's Pacific Games will test the resilience of this reset.